morning to all of you and to our resource person for the day, Mr. Satyam Rathore. And we would like to extend a very warm welcome to him to have some time and come and interact with our students, with the team at LawInternships, and with others those who have joined the session. So welcome, Mr. Rathore. It's a pleasure to be able to interact with you and seek your inputs, particularly in these extremely challenging times, not only for established professionals, but definitely for the large number of fresh law graduates who are graduating at this moment, and also for the next year. And as we see that a lot of students are now moving from traditional internship models to online internship models. And not only in the internship scenario, we're also witnessing such changes in the classes and curriculum, which a lot of students are enrolling for online courses. So in a way, I found this to be also a boon in some ways. Of course, there has been a lot of other issues. But now a lot of courses from a lot of leading universities and cutting edge courses are available online, and people are more willing to engage nowadays. So of course, these changing dynamics, they do present a lot of challenges, but I think they also have a lot of opportunities also. But definitely it gives us a very good alternative and a very good opportunity to change our mindset to a lot of established areas and look forward to something new, making us more adaptable in the process. So Mr. Satyam, if we can have your consent, then maybe we can move ahead with this interaction.
Sure. So basically, you are right, Professor. As you know, in these times, as the situation is challenging here right now, so it does have an effect on internships with the law students, are doing right now through the virtual mode. And what I think one of the biggest challenges which the law students basically face with regard to internship in the virtual mode is the day-to-day interaction which they can have with their mentors. Because when you are in the physical internship mode, the interaction is more quite on a very, very, very daily basis. Even if you have a small doubt, you can just approach the mentor and you can get it clarified. Or if you want any insight into any law, you can just get it clarified then and there. But right now, that interaction has lessened. But yeah, I do feel that, even now through the virtual mode, one good part is that the research which the interns do right now, they get a lot of time. Earlier, from my experience, I would be telling you that when we had interns through the physical mode, so there is a fixed timing, 9 to 6, you have to intern, and there is limited work which we used to give to the intern, because giving the especially when interns from second or third year who join us for internship. Now, with them, we usually give them the basic research work and all. But right now, even to third year students who have a lot of time right now, because even the colleges are not functioning on a regular mode, they have limited online classes. So in that way, they can focus more on research, whatever work we do. And so yeah, in a way, there's no fixed work timing, both for us and for the interns also, although we make sure that we don't harass the interns with a lot of work. But yeah, on their side, the benefit I think which they are getting through the virtual internship mode is that at least they can devote some more time. They can conduct research work on their own pace, with their own kind of inputs which they can provide in a much detailed manner right now. So virtual internship actually is a boon, I would say, in this challenging time. Apart from it, right now what I have been noticing the law students, what they're doing. So whenever I open my LinkedIn profile and when I'm scrolling through my newsfeed, I see one law student doing multiple internships, virtual internships. They keep on. So I think that is one negative effect which I think is there for the virtual internships, because I always advise the law students who approach me who are doing internships that don't do internships, virtual internships in this time, just for the sake of certificates. Internship has a very different purpose. Internship has a purpose for you to learn, and whatever work you're doing, you dwell deep into it, and thereafter stay focused and learn. And what I see whenever we right now for virtual internships, when we go through the CVs and all, we just make sure that the interns who are interning with us at this particular point of time, they stick to one internship. Because what happens when you do multiple internships, just because it's virtual and you don't have to be physically present, it compromises with the with the confidentiality aspect of the firm. Because if, for example, at one firm you are assigned a particular work right now, and then again from another firm you'll get, or another advocate, let's say, let's not talk about for only particularly with the firm, and in the advocate you get another set of work, and it might be urgent for that particular person. So then you'll have to, it gets very difficult to divide your time. So this is one thing which I would like to tell the law students: if whenever you're doing the virtual internship, it has its own benefits, but at the same time you have to be more careful and cautious as to how you are uh, going ahead with the virtual internship right now. So this is my primary take on it, virtual internships.
Mr. Rathore, if I can just extend on this point of virtual internships and multiple virtual internships. Suppose you see a CV where it's showing that there have been more than one internship, online internships at the same period coinciding. So would this signal that this student is able to take on, we can say, a multitasking role, is able to withstand that kind of challenges, or would this actually signal that this student was not able to dedicate full time, even on an online mode, for one given organization? And this might lead to a presumption that they have been, this guy could have done better and he just stuck to one internship.
Yeah, I think the only negative thing which what I see through it is that what you're telling is absolutely correct. You can take it in that way that the student can handle multiple work at the same time. But even if you, it's a bit unethical, which I would rather say, because when you are working with a particular office, you have to devote a full time to the work which is assigned to you. Because, for example, let's say if I assign a work to someone and it's quite urgent that you have to deliver the work by the end of the day, and at the same time the other office where you are interning, that office also assigns you work which has to be delivered by the end of the day, and it is very important work which you have, like, you have to be very careful. So what happens, your mind gets diverted. You won't be focused in either of the offices individually also. So the whole point is about focus. And apart from that, you'll also see the bar council rules also in terms of, though they have not released the set of rules for the virtual internship, but let's say we adhere to the rules which are there. So 20 weeks of internship. So at a time you have to intern at one single place only. So that also comes into play. And I think multitasking is fine, but the whole point when you come, when someone judges you, in a professional role, is that you have to ethically be on a stronger footing, and you have to be careful of what work you are doing. Because if you are interning at a particular place, the office of the lawyer or the firm expects you to be diligent in your all about how your work would be conducted, and diligence would play a very vital role. Because otherwise what a person who is the office of the lawyer or the firm, what generally the mindset comes into picture is that we will be getting this thinking that you are doing internship just for the sake of certificates. So as I told you that when I see these law students on LinkedIn, they are doing this, that, everything. So you just have to be relaxed. There's a process and you will sail through. You don't have to be so much anxious. So what right now I get the feeling is that the law students are more anxious right now with regard to internship, because they are getting an opportunity. Let's do that. And especially it's a very tough time, especially for the fourth year and the fifth year law students, the students who have graduated in 2020 and the ones who would be graduating in 21, because in 21 the students who graduate, they will face double competition, because the students who couldn't, work through 2020, who graduated in 2020 for retainerships, for jobs and all those things, they will again try in 21, and the students from 21 would be facing double competition. So in a way, they are a bit anxious, but I would just say things will improve, and you have to be relaxed, and you just stay focused. And I would rather say, apart from the internship, you should also focus, to methods through which you can gain knowledge. For example, I would recommend, because I am an IPR lawyer, I would recommend the law students do internship in the way where which is a regular way, one internship at a time. Apart from internship, try writing papers, researching more, doing certificate courses. WIPO has a lot of good courses, and those are free courses also. You can try certificate courses. So the focus should be on knowledge enhancement. That should be the main focus. Internship plays one part of it. Apart from it, you should also look through the other methods through which you can enhance your knowledge at this particular time of time. And so when you go forward and prepare a CV, you have enough material to demonstrate that you have knowledge in a particular field of law.
Sure, Mr. Rathore, and definitely I agree with everything that you have just stated about. Because as a faculty as well, I can sense that anxiety, like you correctly pointed out, not only in the 5th year but also in the present 4th years. Because as you also said, that the double competition, which is awaiting 2021. Right. So yes, that is something which is also we are also anxious about, because we want to help our students anyway at any cost, and make them carve out the decent career path. But certainly, what we also realize is that internships, like you would agree with, you also must have happened, that internships have played a significant role in channeling out your career to where you are. And of course, we would also like to, if you could kindly share some of your opinion on that, like how this role of internships has actually helped you out in challenging yourself into a specific field. Like you said, you're an IPR lawyer. Right. So maybe at one point you might have thought about it, that yes, this is the field you want to go ahead with.
Right.
And yes, I believe that, yes.
Internship plays a very, very important role when you decide in which field of law or in which domain of law you actually want to pursue your career. And so for the first year, I think it is common for all the law students, because in the first year we are mandated to intern at NGOs and other related organizations. From the second, I would tell you from my experience, I interned at an NGO. It was a school where I interned, and I used to teach. So I'm basically from a place called Gaya in Bihar. And we have a school here and run by Missionary Institute. So I used to go there and teach the young students. The whole purpose of the first year internship is to understand the practical realities of the world. Because when you join law school in the first year, your whole focus and your whole perception of studying law is to make sure that justice is delivered. So in order to make sure that justice is delivered, and for you to work through that, you must realize what are the practical realities of the world. So that's the whole point of the first year internship. But from the second year onwards, you start looking into internship as more industry oriented field, where you don't learn the practical experiences. So in my second year, I started interning at a law firm in Bangalore itself. And from third year onwards, I started focusing on what field of law actually I want to pursue my career into. Because third year is the time, where you must decide in which field of law you want to go into. Because what do you think the most law students make mistake is that they just intern everywhere, every field of law. But how it works in the professional field is that you must have special expertise in a particular field of law. And thereafter, you can channelize all your energy to work more in that particular field of law, research, and gain expertise. Because right now, the way the industry, or I would say the profession work, is that you have to have an expertise in a particular field of law, because the practice areas of the firms is moduled like that, in that way. So in my third year, I decided that I want to pursue my career into intellectual property rights focused domain. And since then, I made sure that all the internships which I do it in the field of IPR. So I joined in my third year. I joined K&S Partners as an intern in its Bangalore office. That was my first IPR internship, and it provided me a much needed insight into how IPR work. Mostly, I focused on trademarks and trademark copyright, because when you look into IPR has a very obvious division into trademark, copyright, and GI on one side, and patent and design on one side. So especially for the law students who don't have a science background as such, uh, trademark copyright area feels to be more tempting and more interesting for them. And if you have a science background, then in that case, you can go for patent and design. But if you want to go for patent and design litigation per se, then science background is not a big deal. Only when you go to patent prosecution and all, you need the science background. So in my third year, I joined K&S as an intern. I found out that I found trademark and copyright to be interesting. I interned in the prosecution team. Thereafter, in my third year, so we got 2 breaks in my third year, and thereafter I interned at Shardul Amachal Mangal Das Delhi office for their IPR field. But Sam has a very small IPR team. Because what happens with the IPR is that, most of the IPR work which is there in India, it is 95% handled by boutique firms. I had the opportunity to intern at K&S twice in the Bangalore office, both with the prosecution trademark team and the litigation team. Then after in my final semester law school, so it has the marks is average, let's say around 60% or 58% or 59%. But I see that the practical experience that this person has gained in a particular field of law, it's huge. There is consistency in the CV. It shows the commitment of the student to learn a particular field of law. And if I get another CV where marks is too good, let's say 75% and above, but I don't find consistency. Like a person has at one internship, a person has, intern in the field of competition law. Then he went on to intern in the field of capital markets, then IPR, then general litigation. So this doesn't show me consistency. I don't know how much the student would add input to the practice of the firm. So I would always prefer a person who also has an average mark, but there is a consistency in the CV with regard to internship. So this is quite important. I feel that from your third year onward, just start chalking out what you want to do in the future, and accordingly streamline your internship. Streamlining internship is very important. This is very important actually.
Sure. I mean, I fully agree with you on that but one extended query I would be having on this is, generally that's what even most of the students that I've seen, they follow, that they become very focused once they cross third year and they move into fourth year and definitely fifth year. But that's in the regular course. So what I'm observing now is that because of the huge shortage of internships, even online internships that's available right now, a lot of students, just to be engaged and not let this time go, they are accepting internships which might not be in their exact area of, I would say, interest or career inclinations. It's happening because I'm witnessing some of them. That okay, fine, even if I'm an IP student, but I'm getting some work which is suppose corporate, I will be taking it up because somehow I'm getting engaged. I'm not letting this time pass by. So maybe a year down the line, when firms do assess a student CV based on their internships, so do you think that this 1 year of choices which the student makes because of these extraordinary circumstances are going to play a very critical role in the selection or significance of the CV? Or do you think, okay, we might still just look at the intent of the student, that they were engaged, they really tried hard? It might be that they could not.
Absolutely, you are correct, because right now the situation is very challenging, and even if the students are interning in diverse field of laws, what right now what the firms would be looking into is that the intent of the student to learn, you're yearning to learn, and that is very, very important. And I think most of the firms and legal law chambers and everyone would be giving a very important consideration to this, because right now providing internships to a lot of people, it gets difficult because virtual mode has its own challenges, as I told you, even though it has its own benefit. And but your interactions are quite less. And thereafter, yes, for the learning purpose, and if the what it will what the forms will evaluate is that in these challenging times, the students found out some way or the other to keep themselves engaged, and they learned something. Because if anyway, let's say if a students want to pursue litigation with any senior advocate. Now, when you practice litigation or you work with any senior advocate in the chamber, there is no strict division. So a senior advocate who is handling cases regarding IPR, he would be also be handling cases regarding competition law or NSRFAC Act, RERA, anything. So it having knowledge of every field is also it has its own advantages, I would rather say, because as I gave you the example of litigation. So there you need knowledge in all the field of law. And when you come to firms, also, yes, of course, when the firms would be hiring next year, they would keep this into consideration that students had that intent to learn more. They engaged in fruitful ways in which they could spend their time, and definitely it would be considered next year.
So I think that's where your suggestion, like keep writing articles or take courses which are available. Somehow, I think that on a CV would, for this time, would actually show intent, like you just suggested.
Right.
And I think
so, for example, if you're not getting internship in a particular area of law in which you want to go forward to, so apart from internship, you can also look for researching and publishing papers. You will have a number of papers in your CV. You can go for certificate courses. So what the intent should be at this challenging time is just don't lose any opportunity which you get to enhance your knowledge. So the whole year student should stay, this particular year the student should stay focused with this, on the sole aim to acquire knowledge as much as they can, because this is the time they don't have regular classes. They get more time, they're at home, and therefore they should stay focused on acquiring knowledge. And especially for the students who would like to get placed next year and who would well into their profession next year, so this will also play a critical role. And when the CV is being adjudged, their knowledge will play a very, very important role. So apart from internship, they should also look into other avenues through which they can acquire knowledge.
Right. So moving ahead from internships, the other thing I would like to ask is, like, from a law student to the full-fledged legal professional, I mean, this transition, what we generally happens in the 4th or the 5th year, I would say. I mean, one fine day I'm a law student, a month down the line I'm into the rigors of the entire legal profession, whether it's firm, or chamber practice, or whatever. So that this transition, which you also of course went through, we all went through. I mean, so what would you state as the 4 significant areas which one should focus when making this transition from a law?
Actually, yes. So the transition is something which is actually quite challenging, because when you are at the law school, you look at the theoretical aspect of any problem, when you're learning, and when you jump into the professional world, the situation is, I would say, very different. Okay. For example, I would give you just an example. In a law school, let's say a CPC has a provision of temporary injunctions, 39(1) and 2. And 39(1) and 2 plays a very, very critical role in IPR litigation. So when you are in the law school and when you're learning injunctions, you go through all the case laws and everything, to understand what an injunction is. And that is very much required for gaining knowledge and expertise in that particular field. But when you go to the courts, you will see even the court clerks knows the, the antiquities of temporary injunctions. So there you see that the practical world and your theoretical world is very important. What you have to be when you come to the profession, you have to be street smart. That's very much required. You should have the theoretical knowledge, but in the profession, you should have a practical insight how things work, how codes function. And I would say when I joined from my law school, at least for the in my 10th semester, I had a regular 7-8 period of 7-8 months of internships. So I used to visit courts. I used to see how things work out, and so these are the things which I got a benefit because I was in Bangalore. I did my graduation from Bangalore, and I was interning at a place in Bangalore itself. So after my college, I used to visit the office, and thereafter I used to carry, my internship. So gaining practical insight during internships is very important. And yes, and you should start preparing yourself to put in an extra effort during your internship period only, because it's not everything is not very rosy when you step into the profession. Like, it's not like a corporate setup that you'll have to go to the office at 9 and come back at 6 with a lunch hour at 1. So you'll have to put in an extra effort. During my internship, I would say I have faced a situation where I have stayed in the office till 4 o'clock in the morning, and thereafter I used to go back home at 7:30 or 8, and then at 9 I used to go to the college, and from college used to get over by 1, and thereafter I used to go to the court. So you have to start preparing yourself for the hard work, and apart from that, you have to gain the practical experience. As I told, how things work. You have to be street smart. You don't have to be someone who has all the knowledge of the book. You have to be street smart, and you should start observing things how it works during the course of your internship, how the court is functioning, how as an intern, especially when you wish to pursue career into litigation, and you are interning at a place where with an advocate practicing litigation. Then when you visit court, you should see how the court is working. You should sit there and see how the matters are being called out, what is happening during the cross examination. When you are, especially when you're looking to IPR litigation, how the trial is conducted in IPR. So all those things you should start noticing during the course of your internship. This is the number one thing, because practical insight is very, very important. If you just go with the things theory which you have learned in book, as I told you, even the court clerk knows how an injunction works, what are the issues and all those stuff. Apart from that, I would say other part is that with the course of time in your profession, you start learning. Because when I joined, I also had the same anxiety that how things would work, because stepping out from the law school in April and I joined in, I think, in May and June. So how things would work, because a lot of other factors are also involved in profession, the way you interact with client, to the smallest issue like the way you draft an email. Okay, so these are the things in the profession which you gradually learn. And what I see myself, when I joined back in 2018 in May, I faced difficulty in I would say it on a lighter note, because when I joined, I used to say, if I had to CC someone in an email, I used to say, so I had that social media hangover. So I used to say, I have tagged this particular person in the email. So with time, I learned the antiquities, how you have to work in a profession, and your seniors would be there as a mentor who would be teaching you. And with the course of time, you will learn these things. But only thing I would say, you must come prepared beforehand. It is your intention to, learn more, gain practical experiences, and your commitment for a bit harder life, because that's something which is very much required. I have seen students who, the fresh hirings which happen, especially I would rather say from my firm's perspective, during the course of their interview, they ask for the working hours. Now, asking for the working hours is fine. Working hours should be balanced, but there might be situation wherein you will have to put an extra effort because your other colleagues are also providing. It's not as if only the people, the juniors who would be asked to stay up late, or do a bit more of an work. Everybody does. and that's a part of professional life. You should come prepared with that, and thereafter I guess things would run smoothly, because with the course of time you learn a lot more.
So, if we have to identify, apart from the domain aspects, that is the knowledge, subject knowledge, and the practical aspects, if you have to identify one attitudinal characteristics that's very essential for this student making the transition, what would you identify it as? Like one core attitude which we should possess when making this transition. Would you like to specify any one such attribute?
One such attribute would be a lot of attributes are required, but the one thing I would say, Professor, is that is your commitment for a harder life. I think that is the most important thing, and this is where a lot of students fail. You'll see a lot of students who join a particular firm, they are not able to cope up with the work environment or the working hour, and they leave the first. You'll see, I would say in 60% of the cases, people whom I know, they leave their first office within a period of, let's say, 7 to 8 months. And that is a thing which has a very negative impact, because that shows your non-seriousness or not so great loyalty to the firm or to the office where you are working. So be prepared for a harder life. This is very much required. And I think that is the most important attribute which a law student must have and should prepare himself or herself for, for kickstarting their career into the profession. That is the most important thing.
Sure, Mr. Rathore. So if we can now move on to the other aspect that's very essential for the law students is their CV. The document which has such a significance, it speaks so much, and which I consider it speaks in our absence to people who don't even know us. So when I'm just emailing a CV to the HR or a partner of a firm, that's the entire document, and that in a very short span of time has to create an impression in their mind so that it can be taken to the second stage. So a very important document, essential document. And from your point of view, what do you think would be the most crucial aspects that a law student should look at when they're building the CV for internships and for further purposes?
Yes. So I think when a CV comes to a law office or a law firm, let's say for internship or for hiring, the most important factor I would say is your prior internship experiences, which we look into. Because if I'm handling, let's say, trademark prosecution, I would look into the CV of the that particular applicant to see whether you have a prior internship experience into this particular field of law, trademark prosecution, opposition, and all those stuff. If I want in that particular field of law, I would streamline all the CVs and see, I'll only select those candidates who have prior experience into that. So your prior internship experience play a very vital role in your CV when you are sending it for internship application or for hiring. And one thing which is very important for the law student, that they should keep in mind while they are preparing their CV is when they put in their prior internship experiences, they just write where they have interned and the relevant dates. I would rather say that the law student should also include at least 2 lines on the work which they have done. So it helps the recruiter or the person who is selecting your CV to streamline your application and to understand what work you have done. Because when you the first stage itself is your evaluation of your CV. The second stage comes to the interview. So beforehand itself, your CV should give an idea as to what sort of work you have done and what expertise you have. So you should mention what sort of work you have done during the course of your internship. Apart from that, marks doesn't play a major role in your CV, because I would say when we evaluate internship application, or in addition to the hiring process also, uh, marks should be an average marks. And because what we need is the practical expertise of of the law student, and that can be seen only from your prior internship experiences. Marks should be like, even if you have 60% marks, that's fine, provided that you have a great internship experiences in your CV. Apart from that, you should not make your CV too long. So when I said that you have to put in your prior internship work and all in your CV, a two-liner would suffice. Apart from that, I've seen a lot of students, they put in their achievements which they have got in co-curricular activities in their schools also in the CV right now. Now that is not required. That when you are applying for an internship, I wouldn't look into whether you have participated in solo dance competition or a singing competition. That's irrelevant. Okay, so you have to understand the relevance of your CV for what you are applying, and accordingly you'll have to streamline your CV accordingly. Don't make it too long. Make it short and precise. And what is also looked into is your certificate courses in your internship, and we do look into it while we are evaluating internship applications, just to know whether a particular person has, you know, an expertise in a particular field of law, what they have learned and all those stuff. So basically, two important points is, don't make your CV too long. Second, put in your the work which you have done during the course of your internship. Third is, you should write down whatever marks you have got in your academic year, but that won't play a great role in making, you know, for the firm to make decision on your application. So these are some of the important things in your CV. And apart from that, your CV should be interactive. Interactive in the sense that it should be properly formatted. Make sure that your formatting and everything in your CV is fine, because just for the sake of CV, a lot of students, they just prepare one letter, one word, it starts with the capital letter, another in the small letter. It shows your, you know, you are just preparing CV for the sake of CV, for the sake of an application. So it should show your effort, and because these things also play a role, if not from a lawyer's perspective, but from the perspective of an HR who would be handling your application. Because HR is the first person who looks into your CV, and the first, you know, first streamlining is done by the HR. Thereafter, the CV comes to other people for evaluation, because there are set HR standards which are looked into. So make sure your CV is neat, properly drafted, it's interactive, and all the required details are there, okay, and irrelevant details are chalked out. So this is very much important. Apart from that, I would say, yeah, so when you write about your publications and seminars and all those attended in your CV, the seminars which you have attended, or the papers you have published, in that field, I would rather say, in order to make your CV precise, just focus on the papers which you have published. A lot of students, you know, in their CV, they also mention a list of 10 or 15 seminars which they have attended, and that's not much required. What we looked into on a priority basis is your publications. And if you want to, if you have, let's say if you have one or two publication only, in that case you can add it on with your conferences, paper presentations also, you know. But that is a part which you can squeeze out also if your CV is, you know, getting lengthy. And if your CV is too small, in that case you can put in more categories in that particular field. And this particular section is also quite important. Apart from that, certificate courses are important. Yeah, I think that's all. That's all from the CV perspective.
So a document which is short, precise. Yes, we'll come to the.
Professor, your voice is breaking.
Hello.
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah. For any of these students who might have questions, we'll just come to it shortly once we are done with the interaction. So, Mr. Rathore, yeah. Hello.
So actually the thing is that many of our batchmates are waiting and they are unable to get in.
I think the law internship team can have
Ankita,
a look at that.
Yeah, so that
Ankita,
was
we're just letting them in. Just wait for a few minutes. We're letting them in, okay?
All right, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, ma'am. Thank you.
Sir,
Yeah,
you
so
may
Mr. Rathore, so yes, so CV is, from what I get from this discussion, it's going to be precise, contain the relevant details, and once we actually it highlights the essential parts of the students' achievements, whether it be marks or paper publications or internships, and where internships, as you said, are of high relevance. So
Yes.
something that is, yes. So coming from the CV, I mean, if we feel just as we are about to maybe close the session in another some more time,
Mhm.
60 minutes. So yes, my final take or my final question is that given all these things that we have just seen, what would be your advice for our students for the times to come? That is at least the immediate 1 year, and maybe thereafter. And
Yeah.
after which, we can go ahead with the questions from the students. So if any student has any query, they can just mark or raise the hand in the chat, and we can proceed with the queries one by one within the time frame. So yes, Mr. Rathore, yes, please.
Yes.
Your
I would rather say for the coming 1 year, the situation is quite challenging because hiring and all those stuff will depend on the business the firm makes in this particular year. And so yes, for the next 1 year, it would be challenging, especially for the current fifth years and the people who have passed out in 2020. It would be challenging. So for them, I would rather advise them to, at this particular point of time, do you do make sure that you are interning virtual internships, and you focus on knowledge acquisition in this particular 1 year, because this is very much important. Because when you go next year with your CV for hiring, it will be a quite tough competition. So because firms won't be inclined to hire a lot of people until and unless they need so much of people. And what I can foresee, at least for the next year, is that hiring would be a bit lesser in comparison to what the hirings would have been right now, because everything depends upon the business which the firm makes in this particular year. And so yes, stay focused and make sure that you utilize the present time in acquiring knowledge, because that's the most important thing. It's not the number of internship certificates which is important. What is important is how much and what knowledge you have acquired in this particular field through your internship and through other modes such as your certificate courses, publication. So just acquire more knowledge, so that when you go next year with your CV, you have an edge over the other person with whom you're competing with. And that is the most important thing which I would rather say for the law students. And one thing I would like to especially say to students with regard to internship is always make sure that you follow a particular mode of internship, okay, for application, which is something which I had seen during my course of internships also. You must not be anxious. A person should not be anxious while you are seeking internships, while you are applying for jobs, or while you are in the profession also. So you have to somehow, I know the situation is difficult, but you'll have to manage your anxiety and channelize this energy into doing something which is more positive or fruitful. And I see a lot of students who just for the sake of internships, so I receive daily 15-20 messages on LinkedIn. I want to intern in a particular field of law, or I want to intern at the particular office. So the way you put on, I know people are anxious, the students are anxious, but the way you put on, your requirements, that should be through a proper mode, a proper channel. I would say, for example, a person who wants to seek an internship at my firm. So we are taking virtual interns, like every month we have 5-6 interns almost in each of our offices. So make sure you follow a particular path and you are calm, you're not anxious, and thereafter you seek internships or apply for job applications through a proper channel and that's very much required because that gives because that showcases your professionalism, and which is very much required into the profession. And apart from that, make sure that your CV is as per what we discussed right now. Streamline your CV, make it focused, and check out the things which are not important, and your prior internship experiences, which is very much important when you come out into the professional field next year. This year, stay focused on knowledge acquisition, which is very much important because that will provide you an edge next year. That's all, Professor, from my side.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rathore, for your wonderful deliberations. And I think it's given us and our students a lot of insights about what to be done and what to expect and how to be prepared. So I think it's been a wonderful discussion, and I'm sure our students must be having some queries they would like to pose to the resource person here. So I would request if any student has any queries, may do so one at a time. And while doing so, I would request them to please switch on the video and just state the name so we can identify who's speaking. So if any student has a query, we are open for that.
Okay, hello everyone. I am Harshita from LawInternships, the student coordinator. So if you have any queries, kindly unmute yourself and ask the question as Sir said. And also you can type it in the chat box if you want, so that once prompted by us, we can pose it to the resource person.
Hello, sir. This is Adyasha from 5th year.
Yeah, hi Adyasha.
Yes, sir, actually I want to ask that, sir, many of the times CGPI is a criteria. Sir, I don't know about the firms, but our college chooses it on the basis of CGPI. So in this way, many other students who have less CGPI get discriminated if CGPI is always the criteria.
Yeah, I totally understand. I can relate to it, but I think for a law school where a lot of students are there, some criteria has to be there, to shortlist the CV, and maybe for that CGPA comes into picture. But for if you individually apply at a firm, I could tell you how the firms evaluate your internship application. It is on the basis of your prior internship experience in the particular field of law in which the firm practices. And on that basis, usually we do, we do evaluate the internship applications. And CGPA, as I said, it should, an average CGPA is fine. But the CGPA has to be like, if a person with, let's say, 45% percentage of your marks, if he or she applies, so that could be a difficulty. So it has to be an average CGPA or your marks coupled with your prior internship experience. But as you told that the law schools, they have CGPA as a criteria for shortlist applications in order for them to forward it to the firm. I think that's something which it's a way out for the law school, because some criteria has to be there for them, to shortlist the large number of applications, because firms usually they handle, let's say, 3 or 4 interns at a particular point of time at a particular location. So it's just a criteria I think for chalking out law students. And you may, if you think that your internship, your CV is quite, it's up to the mark, and for this technical reason your CV is not getting selected, then you may apply individually also, and your CV can get evaluated, until and unless you are applying to a particular firm through a collaboration with the law school through internship committees. I hope that's fine, Adasha.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else want to ask questions? You can just unmute yourself.
Ma'am, this is Krishna. I would like to ask one question.
Yeah, hi Krishna.
So good morning, sir. Thank you for this session. So my question is, as you recommended to streamline our particular field from the third year, but so my question is, I'm a first generation lawyer and there are many students who are first generation lawyers. So for them to identify which area interests them more, because law is diversing day by day. So for them to identify which is the interest area, they do a wide sort of internship to get an exposure as to what is the working of a particular field and which is what I want to interested in. So now if a student who has explored many areas and then finally come to a decision that, no, this is the area of expertise that I want to do, will that reflect badly on his or her CV while recruitment?
That won't reflect badly as such, but yes, preference is given to a person who has, in whose CV consistency is there. And I think by third year, through your law school, through the activities which you take part into, and at current times, when a lot of avenues are there through which you can just decide on in what field of law you want to pursue a career into. I would say even me being also a first generation lawyer, in my third year when I did my internship in IPR, at that point of time, I did find out that this particular field is interesting, and coupled with my classes in college in IPR. And thereafter I researched a bit more, because the law students have to take the onus to decide. Because I would say right now the situation is very challenging, and apart from the current situation also, you have to gain expertise, because firms do practice in domain area wise. Okay, so a particular firm which has a practice area of competition law, that particular firm will choose will hire a student who has an expertise in competition law. So by third year itself, through your internship, let's say one internship, or if not third year, maybe in fourth year, early fourth year. Okay, early fourth, by that particular point of time, you should frame your mind as to in which direction you want to go, because a person going in every direction might end up going nowhere. So if not third year was just an example. If not third year, maybe early fourth year, as soon as it is possible for you. So that is very much important, because by third year, apart from your internship, you have access to other avenues also, through which you can decide in which particular field of law you want to pursue your profession into. We have seen students, or on a lighter note, I would rather say, when we are in kindergarten, we decide what we want to become 20 or 30 years back. So it's not that difficult when you are in your third year to frame your mind as to in which field of law you want to go. You can consult your professors. You can just do research on your own self. You can see in which area of law, while you're researching, you like working into. And this comes from your law school days only, because in my third year, if I get a CIA or writing a paper I have to write, I would find out that I find IPR more interesting, and I would make sure that whatever I do it into IPR. So by third year or early fourth year, you should make up your mind. That is very, very much essential. Apart from that, yes, in exceptional situations, as you said, the issue which a lot of students face, and I think that's genuine also. But you'll have to be focused and start working and adapt yourself as per the requirements of the industry. Hope that's fine, Krishna.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Are there any other questions?
Sir?
Yeah, hi, Aranya.
Sir, I have a question. Suppose if a person is pertaining to a interest, or in his CV, that he has done his internship in various aspects in one law in law aspects.
Aranya, your voice is breaking. Can you just repeat once more, please?
Sir, I just want to know, suppose if a person is working in a streamlined area in his internships, and through his CV, he has added only that area as its main focus, will that affect anything more while during recruitment?
Yeah. It, as I told you, streamlining your CV in a particular area. That
Suppose, for example, if a person is having an interest in business law, suppose, and he has done maximum of his internship in that aspects, and when he or she is sitting for recruitment, will that law firm will be asked that why you have not done internship in other aspects also?
yeah, because when you say whether the law firm will ask you or not, so you should be prepared with the answer that you have been interested into this. So maybe as a trick question you might be asked, okay, so why it is because this, while I say, because you should work in a particular field of law and you should streamline your CV, is to give an impact during your recruitment that you have stayed focused, and that plays a very positive role. And when you say that whether the recruitment firm or office might ask you why you haven't, interned in other field of law, I think that question would be in a positive note. So your commitment or your consistency in your CV is always appreciated. So I don't foresee that happening a problem. I don't think you'll ever face a problem because of streamlining your CV, Aranya.
Thank you, sir.
No issue.
Do we have any more questions?
Yes, sir. Sir, I have a question.
Hi, Megha.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Sir, I just wanted to know that in case of recruitment, whether the kind of publications, like you stated that we need to write that in our CVs, whether the particular journals or blogs, is that taken into consideration, or our particular interest area or the research area we are researching and writing the paper, that is of much more importance?
Your research area and the subject matter of your paper, it plays the most important role, and that is looked into actually, whether it is related to the domain of law which the firm practices in or the office practices in. So your research area and your domain of law and the quality of paper, that matters wherever you publish. Even if you publish it in a personal blog, it shouldn't be a problem, as long as it is in tune with the law for which you are writing, and it is in accordance, if your research area is good and your topic is relevant. I think that is the foremost important thing.
Thank you.
But yeah, on a personal note, I would advise you, when you are writing a paper, just make sure you avoid paid publications, because
Yes,
paid publications are not that great. Unpaid ones, any publication, it's any blog or any website you are publishing your paper into. So as long as it is on the basis of merit, that should be important. That should play a major role. But at the end of the day, foremost important thing is the content of your paper, the quality of your paper, and the subject matter of your paper.
Thank you, sir.
No.
Any more questions?
I can see a question from Mansi. How
Yes.
judicial internship will help me in building? Yeah, judicial internship. It's a very, it has its own advantages, I would rather say. If you want to go for litigation, if you want to pursue your career in litigation, judicial internship will play a major role in your CV. Even apart from, if you don't even want to go for litigation, in that case also judicial internship is seen very positively, while internship applications or your hiring retainership hiring applications are being evaluated. So yes, it is taken on a very positive note. I hope that's fine, Mansi.
Hello, sir. This is Mansi. Sir, thank you, sir. And there is one more thing that mostly when I have a conversation with the people who do judicial internship under High Court and some Supreme Court judges. So basically, their work, their workspace, they just have to go through some case laws to help the judges. But when it actually when it comes to work with a lawyer, so how it is different to intern with a under a lawyer than a judge, because majorly you learn more when you intern with a judge, with a lawyer actually.
Yeah, I think both has its own pros, because when you are interning with a judge, you will assist the judge, in research, and that will enhance your research skills with regard to case laws. And while you're working with a lawyer, you might end up learning drafting skills also. Okay, so research is something which will be common while you're interning with a lawyer as well as while you're doing your judicial clerkship. But drafting is something which can be a bonus while you're interning with a lawyer, because with lawyer you learn the drafting skills, and that is very, very much required. So both has its own pros. Anyway, you have 20 weeks of internship, so you can do both, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
No issues.
Any more questions?
Good morning, sir.
Hi, Karishma. Good morning.
This is Karishma here. So I want to ask you that if someone has published a paper and it is mostly paid, then in that case, the value of the paper is deteriorated.
It's not deteriorating, but when I'll have to compare it with unpaid publication, I might prefer that. And I think when I say myself, I mean to say a person who is evaluating your CV, because I would say paid publications are not bad. Maybe one paper, your first paper might be a paid publication. For me also, my first paper in the law school was a paid publication. Okay, so that's not bad, but you should strive for unpaid publication, because what the person who is looking into while is looking into your CV and is looking into the platform where you have published, they might get an impression that the merit would have been compromised with when you're publishing something in a paid publication. So I would say you should strive for unpaid publications. Maybe a single paper which is paid, that might not be an issue.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir. This is Vidhi here. Sir, if we explore different areas of law, like we worked under some lawyers or in law firm, so does it count that we were not consistent enough? As you mentioned that working in a particular business law or any law, so does it count like that?
Yeah, because why I'm telling you this is, see, it's your discretion in how you intern. But why, when I say that there should be consistency, is because the practice area of firms are such that it is segregated. So you'll have to apply somewhere, right? For example, let's say you have internships, capital markets, competition law, and IPR, general corporate, everywhere. Now an opening is there into general corporate. So a person who would be hiring for general corporate, he would prefer a person who has consistent internships in general corporate over a person who has internships in IPR, environment law, and general corporate, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about business and practicality. So when you evaluate the CV, there you'll see a person is having one internship in capital markets and there are other internship in environment law or IPR. And when the opening is for capital market, he will prefer a person who has consistent internships in capital market. So in that way, it plays a very, very critical role. And that's when I say that if your CV is consistent, let's say at least from the third year onwards, if not third year, maybe early fourth year onwards, because even if you are in your early fourth year, I think you'll get a chance for 3 internships plus any extended ones which you want to do. So by that time, you should make sure in which field of law you want to go into, and accordingly you can plan your internships thereafter.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Any more questions?
I think what Mr. Rathore just mentioned in the queries are very practical and useful tips for our students, and certainly it will be guiding them along. And this is a message we can also share with our other batches, third years, second years, and likewise. So yes, that way it was a wonderful session.
Professor, which batch were we interacting with right now?
Most of the students we are interacting with right now are presently in the 5th year, the 2021 batch.
Okay.
Yes, but there must be some students who are also from the other batches here. So all over to team Law Internships.
Okay. So it was a really interactive session. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And Law Internships provide internship opportunities in the field of law, primarily to the students pursuing undergraduate and postgraduate programs. Its partner Ms. Amrita Jain, ma'am, along with her team of young, dynamic, and competent members, assist in providing opportunities for gaining professionals.
Just pausing you for a while. Yeah, so for the students who are, for the general knowledge, who are interested in interning at K&S Partners, I would just show you how you can make application. Because for us, it's a bit different because you have to appear for online examination through our portal itself. You can just access our website. I can't share my screen. So you can access our website at knspartners.com. There you'll find the internship separate portal for internships. You can register yourself there, and thereafter you can appear for an online MCQ there on the portal itself, and thereafter you can submit your application. So the process is quite transparent. If you qualify in the MCQ, it will show your result then and there, and thereafter your internship applications will be proceeded. So that's how it works. So in case anyone is interested in internships, you can apply, and if the slots are available, the HRs are generally gracious enough to consider the internship applications based on merit. And that's all, Harshita.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for the great opportunities. Okay, so I, Harshita Kare, on behalf of Law Internship in the School of Law, KIIT, extend a hearty gratitude to Mr. Satyam Rathore, sir, who honored us with this enriching session and took out time for his busy schedule, and also to Mr. Sudipta Desakar, sir, for being a moderator for the session. I must also mention a deep sense of appreciation of all the students who are present today. Hope this session was a great learning experience for you all. Thank you, one and all, once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.